If you just give up, then yeah, you failed. But if you just look at it as a new starting point, you have that learning, you have that skill, you have that confidence to do it again. I think people should really strive to be the best versions of themselves. If you have this dream, go for it. Like, I think it's tough for people to understand that like not everything is super black and white. Like, you don't have to go the corporate route, or you don't have to go the collegiate route or anything like that. It's like there's a spot for you as you're making those connections. As you're building that trust, you're just feeding referrals into you. So that was honestly the biggest help to just like generate the most clientele.
All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the very first episode of the Voices of Arkansas. So if you want to check out the full breakdown of what this podcast is going to be about, obviously you can check the previous episode 0, just kind of breaking down all that. But without going into a long spiel, we have our first guest here, Mr. Luke. How's it going, man?
Man, it's good. It's good.
Just to kind of jump into it, I mean, we were just talking a little bit ago. How's you just went on your honeymoon, just got married? Like, give me a kind of rundown of all that.
Man, married life, it's not too different. I think the biggest thing that is different is just like that's your one person for the rest of your life, the unity of it and stuff like that. And it makes it feel very complete and very just consolidated. And I think that's a really cool part of being married. But then honeymoon was awesome. Colorado is a really cool place. And we didn't want to go like the traditional just beach route and stuff like that. So being able to explore and just have fun in the mountains, that's kind of what
And you got
plan.
stuck in snow?
Not really stuck, but I mean, there was like a foot of snow everywhere. And so like the mountains were snowy, roads were actually really clear. It's not like Arkansas where you're just stranded. But so we were able to do basically everything. Yeah. It was
They're
awesome.
a little more equipped up there to handle the
exactly.
snow.
But it's so weird because like the cold doesn't feel the same. Like I was in shorts hiking around and stuff like that.
Because it's like definitely more like dry there versus like, here. I mean, even today it's like 40 or like 55. It still feels pretty cold. So really the purpose of, we were kind of talking about it, like the purpose that I want to do, the goal of this podcast is just like interview different people of Arkansas, business owners, entrepreneurs, things like that. So before we jump into kind of like the business side and fitness, obviously we're in the Empire fitness.
Gotta rep it.
Gotta rep the merch. So just take us back. Like, how did you overall get into kind of like the fitness game and things like that?
I mean, I've always been active and stuff like that. And like through high school, I played tennis and just liked being active and working out and everything. But I just didn't ever go strongly into one route until around college. I was teaching kickboxing at the time. I've kind of done that since I was a kid as well. And so whenever I was going through college, I always wanted to be a teacher. And so I was a history major for, I think, my first semester, maybe like first 9 weeks. But like I had this one professor and he ruined it for me. And so then I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? So kind of thinking about wanting to help people and where my gifts can be with that, I started trying to look at more into occupational therapy and because it's like a lot of rehabilitation and like helping people kind of rebuild their lives after a stroke or any bad accident. And so from there, I was teaching kickboxing for like $60 every 2 weeks, which was fine for a college student. I was like, hey, this is
like a hobby that you're kind of like doing, and it was like good.
Yes.
It was cool to get paid for.
Yeah, exactly. And so I took off a semester because I was terrible at math too. And so I was in occupational or exercise science and learning a lot about that. And then I had to take a semester off and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I was like, I'm going to have to become like a pro kickboxer or something. Because I was like, that was the only thing I was good at. But then I kind of started learning more about personal training and being more in the gym because I was already leading a lot of classes. And so as I started learning more about training, I was like, wow, I still get to teach people. I still get to help people. And I get to be around an environment that I like. And that kind of through that gap year, I just got certified. And then after that, I was like, got hired at a local commercial gym. And I was like, well, I'm making money now doing what I love. I'm like, why go back to school? So that's kind of where we ended up and where I just see myself continuing to grow in. So
nice. Side note, what do you think about or did you watch the Jake Paul fight? or what the fight.
Dude, so like halfway through the fight, I was just, after the first round, because Mike Tyson came out, I was like, he's actually looking pretty strong. I was like, this is maybe a fight. And then after the first round, I was like, should we be watching this? Like
the elder abuse.
Yeah, like, yes, he's a 58-year-old and looking good for a 58-year-old, but he's also a 58-year-old. And the conspiracies of it being rigged, I might be on board about that.
I've seen like just so many people talking about it, and it's like, I think the biggest thing that I've seen that was a little bit off was the fact that you know, a lot of the clips that you see beforehand were like, he was going like crazy, and like he was really fast and like all that. And then he comes out on there and it's just like, what is going on?
It's a lot different. And then also like there were times where he could have countered very easily and he pulled his punches, and maybe he just was off. But then the biting of the glove, that's created a whole new conspiracy to like remind himself to like not punch and stuff. So I think Netflix needs to, well, because they're also trying to start to stream WWE and NFL games. So I'm like, they're going to have to fix a lot of stuff before they actually go into that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a whole other thing. It was just like it trying to load. I swear I was trying to open it on like a different, like my phone, my tablet and laptop before, like more than even like watching the fight.
Yes, so exactly.
It was fun. So, so basically, you, obviously you were doing working at the commercial gym. So what was your kind of transition into, you know, partnering up with Jacob and kind of doing that?
So Jacob and his wife, Chrissy, well, like they were just dating at the time, but we all three worked at the commercial gym together, and Jacob was our manager. And then me and Chrissy were both trainers. And so I've always had the goal in mind to like be on my own, be an independent trainer, and help people through that. But when COVID hit, it essentially turned into the gym shutting down and everything. Mm-hmm. And so they would still allow us to train our clients, but like at parks and bring whatever equipment we could.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed our mindset with, oh, the people aren't showing up for the gym, they're showing up for us, and how we're able to help them actually doesn't rely on the gym as well either. And so through COVID, Chrissy had bought a house with Jacob and everything like that. And they had a little detached garage, and Chrissy had started training clients out of there before I started. And it was just like 400 square feet. And so once she kind of started building up a little bit, she kind of talked more to me about it. And I was like, yeah, like that's what my ultimate goal was, to be away from commercial and be more private and stuff like that. So then I started to pick up clients, and it was like a 6-month process, but it was a slow burn. And as soon as like she got to quit before I did, but as soon as we saw that revenue flip, we were like, oh, like this is going to actually turn into something. And so we just took our time and able to like transition Empire full time. And that was the easiest decision I could have made. Like once I like started seeing everything in motion and the vision that Chrissy had, Jacob had, and like being able to kind of put in my input and help feed that vision, it was done deal.
Yeah. I think it's because I haven't heard like that part of it. Like obviously we talk. So Luke's my personal trainer. So, you know, obviously we work together a lot, and he's helped me a lot, and we'll, you know, talk about some of that in a second. But I didn't know that it started almost like it basically started in a garage.
Yeah.
And then it really kind of like built off of that. And I think there's a lot to say about, you know, because I think we're like in this time, like especially after 2020 with, you know, COVID and everything, where people are like, oh, like I need to find a new job, or I can make money online, or I don't have to work, you know, in these places. And a lot of people have like started businesses, but they like kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, like go in a little too early. And then it's like they don't really have the skills to sustain it long term, versus what you guys did was more of like you stayed in you know, the corporate spot, and then you kind of built up the client base, and you built it once, like you said, you were kind of like, you know, you flipped the revenue there.
Right. I think too with it is either people are too scared to actually go for it, or like you said, they try to go into it too early, where they don't have the kinks like smoothed out. And like commercial gyms are tough because you're at the mercy of the corporation, but you learn so much from it. And I also would have never met Jacob and Chrissy through it.
Exactly.
And the skills that I developed through there and the confidence that I got helped me so much with that transition. Because like selling on your own is just the same. You're just not actually giving the percentage to the corporation, you know?
Yeah.
And then also just being able to be prepared. This was the part that actually made me just be like, oh, this is it. I mean, I prayed about it a lot and just kind of kept that prayer in mind and stuff like that. And I was just like, well, whenever I have my sign, I have my sign. And so there was this guy, one of my, I guess not influences, but like people I look up to in the fitness world. His name's Hayden Bowe. He started Hybrid, and he did a question on his Instagram, and it was like something about trainers kind of transitioning more full-time online. And like, that's kind of the steps that we're going for like the next 10 years. And I was like, okay, like, I just wanted to be like, hey, why do you think this? And he gave me he responded right away. I was like, that's crazy. Like somebody that I look up to responded to me to give me clarity on the question. I was like, that is insane. And then that same day he posted, I think it was like a 3-year anniversary of Hybrid or something like that. And it was like starting off in a garage, slinging programs, and boom. I was like, oh, this is my sign. And like literally the next day I put in my 2 weeks and went all in.
Dude, I just got chills. That's good. Because it's like, you know, a lot of times I think as humans, we just have, especially in that spot of like you're starting off and doing your own thing. It's like, it's a new territory. So you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And you almost just need like, kind of not permission, but like you said, like a sign of like, okay, like it is time to do that. Or like, I can do this. And you know, when you see other people, and hopefully the reason of doing this podcast is to show like other people's personalities and like how like this person has grown and this person, and just like almost create this, like a sign for other people, or like validation that like, we're just normal. Like everyone's just normal, you know, like it's just, we put in a little bit of work to make it happen.
And part of it too is just like, I think so many people are scared to fail to go for something. And truly, I don't think failure is a real thing. I think it's just a new starting point. Like through that, you learn so much, and you only fail if you completely give up. But say you did try to go off on your own, but you picked up maybe like 5 or 6 clients. It's just not enough. And you have to kind of work your way back into the corporate world, but you still gained revenue from that. You still helped people from that. And then you have a completely new set of skills. But if you just give up, then you failed. But if you just look at it as a new starting point, you have that learning, you have that skill, you have that confidence to do it again. And it's just, I think people should really strive to be the best versions of themselves. If that is in a corporate world, cool, go for it. But if you see yourself in a different spot, but you're not ready to take that leap, okay, prepare for it. If you want to pray about it, or like learn about it, and then take that jump. Like there's risk, but the reward can be so much higher with it too.
Yeah. There was a book I was reading recently that it talks about basically what you said of like, if something doesn't work out, you're basically learning the ways that it doesn't work, you know? So it's like, now, you know, okay, let's say, you know, if you're a personal trainer and it's like, okay, I want to try out this way of getting clients and it doesn't work. Well, now you don't look at it as like, oh, like that sucks, it didn't work. It's like, well, now I know that's going to no longer be in the back of my head that it's a potential like avenue. Yeah. So I think that's a good transition to, you know, so you guys were building up the clients. What were some of the ways, like if, you know, another personal trainer or business owner is listening to this, what were some of the ways that you were like getting new clients and attracting them to sign them on?
I mean, the cliche answer is social media. I mean, it does help, but that's also not a guaranteed of getting things to a degree. And so I was learning how to like kind of market myself, and I would like look at other coaches and see what they kind of posted online and try to kind of mimic it to a degree with my own spin. just to get my face out there. And like, I mean, if you're scrolling through social media and it keeps popping up, like I keep popping up, it's like, okay, cool. Like that's going to trigger somebody eventually. And it is a longer grind through that, but the payoff is really quick. Like you messaged me through social media and saw our stuff. So that's a big one, in the sense of, don't think of it as guaranteed. Just think of it as a way to keep your face and keep your personality on a radar for everyone scrolling. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest help was joining a BNI group, or like a networking group, because we're really big on community, and we want to develop a culture around weightlifting, around us, and we want the community involved, and we want to build up our community. And so BNI is great because you meet with other local business owners, and it's a like national organization and stuff. So you meet with other local business owners every week, you ask for referrals, you get to know these people inside the community. And so as you're making those connections, as you're building that trust, you're just feeding referrals into you. So that was honestly the biggest help to just like generate the most clientele. And then just asking referrals through clients and sharing testimonials, sharing progress pictures. Those are probably the biggest things that help me. But I mean, there's so many ways you can cold call. There's so much you can do. Those I would say are the biggest consistent things to just get yourself in front of new people, because you're not necessarily selling yourself to maybe that exact person, but they are sending that to other people. So
a huge piece of that is, one thing I've talked about is on the, I guess, episode, well, no, I technically have two podcasts. One is going to be called like the video marketing school, and then others, the Voices of Arkansas. But one thing that I was talking about, just those two things that you mentioned, right? You have the BNI, which I think is great, especially for like a local, like when you're trying to build that community. A lot of times, like you were in Conway, it's like the business owner market is not huge, right? Like it's a small connected group of people, and that's something you can do, and put a face to the name, and like physically like shake hands. But when you have social media, it's more of like, I just call it like evergreen. So it's like you can post one time and someone can come back to your page and like see it over and over. So like I think having those two is just a really good like double whammy to hit them with, of like, you meet them in person, they follow you on Instagram, and as long as you're consistent, like you said, it's like there's only a certain amount of times like someone can see your stuff and not be like interested. Like if it's something that they want, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's how like I got involved with one of my coaches. It's wild. It's the same thing. He was doing like an Ask Me Anything on social media, and I sent in a question, and then he responds right away. I'm like, it's just crazy how it's connected. But being able to see like him posting constantly and seeing exactly what he does, and being like, oh, like that's what I want. Or not necessarily what I want, but I can see how he can help me with my goals and everything like that. It was a cool thing to see, and to like actually take out his like time of his day to send me responses. And so that's another thing too. I'm terrible at responding to comments directly, but I message the people, because I just like, I don't like to put myself out there. And so I'm like, well, if I message them, it's private. And like, so that's a big thing, is like trying to stay engaged too. Because they might not bite right away, but they might think about it later and be like, oh, that was actually really good advice. What else could he give, and how else could he help me? So and then when they like find it themselves, and they almost like I just call it like credibility points, or like authority points, to where like if someone goes to your Instagram and they see a progress picture of yourself, and then you like lifting weights, and then they see like client testimonials, and they see all these different things, it's just like these authority points that are building up in their head. So that way, like when they do reach out to you, like they're basically 80% sold. They just they just need to figure out, like, for me, I went in and we did kind of like the breakdown. So on that note, just, let's say someone's listening and they're in Conway or somewhere close, and they're like, I want to hire like Luke as my personal trainer, or I want to come into Empire. Like, what is the process that
you bring people through of like, okay, I'm kind of interested. Like what, how do you bring them down the process?
I mean, I always like to offer a free session just because like you want to get to know the person, you need to understand their goals and stuff like that. And so we always offer a free session. And what that kind of looks like is just talking about goals, seeing what nutrition, what weightlifting is like, where they are at that point in time in their fitness like journey, and then where do they want to go. So like trying to meet them where they're at and then being able to show them where they can go. I think it's tough whenever you either don't have a plan or you don't really have an end destination, or not even an end destination, but some direction to go. But if you can have someone break it down for you, like if you're trying to lose, let's say 60 pounds and you're like, well, I need to lose it in 2 months. Like, okay, well, we got to put that in realistic proportion. And so it's like 2 months might not be the end goal, but maybe we can make 20 pounds in 2 months, you know? And so like being able to meet people where they're at and be able to show them where they can be is really important. So we talk about goals, we talk about fitness history, we try to understand any injuries that you guys might have or any clients might have. And then we just go through a workout. I like to make it fairly general, but also, and somebody's goals are always going to be different. We want to figure out the why on why they're there, you know, because it can be a deeper meaning. It could be trying to be healthy for kids, or like walking up a flight of stairs and you're like, I'm out of breath, you know, like, or something as simple as that. Or like someone can be fairly surface level in the beginning, and that goal can shift so much, or that progress that they make can shift so much where they're like, I didn't even realize this is what I wanted or where I wanted to be until I got there. And so being able to just assess like how I like to break it down like a push, pull, leg, and like hip hinge movement, and maybe like some abs and cardio, just to like try and get their heart rate up, show the benefit of where a trainer can come into play. Cause I mean, everyone can kind of do it on their own or look up YouTube videos, but being able to have that specificity that a trainer can bring in and actually keep that accountability and keep you on track through goals is super important. So just a quick workout. And then at that time, we kind of talk about pricing and everything, which is never the fun part and the hardest part. I hate selling people because I'm terrible at talking about money. But I mean, you had like, I think it took me a while to figure out, but people are coming to me for this help, for this advice. And most of the time it's like they already have it in their head that they want it. And so it is easy. And like, if you keep in the mindset that you are trying to help these people, that side doesn't feel as scary. But it's just talking about goals. It's figuring out where they're at, where they want to go. And then we build specific programs tailored to like goals, because everyone's different, to help out with nutrition and just be that coach, build that rapport. And I mean, some of the people that I care about the most are clients. Like, they kill it. So
that's the thing too, is like when it comes to the sales side of it, it's like I think you're not the only person. Like, I think most people don't like to feel salesy, and and a lot of times that comes with the money aspect. But I think the more that you can lean into, like you said, like leaning into doing it for them versus like to them, if that makes sense. And like the only way that you can do that is by understanding their goals, right? It's like not like you said, someone is going to come in and they might want to lose weight because they want to feel more confident, or they want to, like you said, like keep up with their kids or whatever. So understanding those things is then it makes it a lot easier for you to be like, hey, like, you're here, you want to get here. The vehicle to get there is through personal training. And then I'm sure it, makes your job fun too, because you get to see the results. So one thing you mentioned in that section was, someone could do it themselves, or, they could do personal training. What would you say to someone that might be on the fence of like, should I do personal training or should I, hire a trainer?
Well, for people who are kind of on the fence, which like, I mean, it's weird because I've always been in sports. So I've always had a coach or anything like that. And the accountability or like the learning that you get from it, I think that's what I value the most. And so like, if you are doing it on your own and there is effort there, like that's awesome. But thinking about how specific you can get with someone who's either been there before, like where you're at, or learned through their own process of doing it on their own and then finding a coach or getting certifications, it takes the ease off of, it takes everything off you and just lets you kind of do it, so you don't have, like, people don't have to think about the workouts that they have to do or how much weight they need to do or how to learn without like failing so much, because like if you're coming to me to get better at squatting and you're like, I've tried all these things, I've watched all these videos, having that like third eye view of, oh, you just have to bend your knees a little bit more or sink back in your hips a bit, brace the core. You have a person there always that you can rely on to coach you through that, instead of getting frustrated, not understanding why you're not making progress, and then ultimately being done with whatever you're trying to do. Or you result into, I'm just going to get on the elliptical for an hour and stuff. So I think the accountability and just having the person there to be there with the good times, celebrate those, understand where the bad times are going to come from, and then also like just not necessarily calling out in a bad way, but if your goal is to lose weight and we're eating McDonald's 3 times a week, we got to address that. And so ultimately having somebody to help you through that season, because maybe it is just like, oh, I'm so busy, I have kids, the only thing that I can think of is McDonald's. It's like, okay, well, how can we address that? Maybe we cut down on the McDonald's at least to 1 time a week. And setting those incremental goals, being able to change those habits slowly, because ultimately we want people to learn from us and be able to apply it for their life forever. Like they understand, I have to eat a little bit less to lose a little bit of weight, or I have to go to the gym 4 times a week to make some progress. So it can be scary, but ultimately you have somebody there to be with you through hard times, good times, and everywhere in between. So coaches, like, we almost become therapists to a degree. That's a hard question of like actually trying to convince somebody like why they need it. But it's just having that accountability and having that coach there, and learning from it. Like it is lifelong learning. And if you can get your fitness under control, like everything else can kind of start falling into place as well. And you're not on your own. So
one thing that we were talking about before too is just, you basically just said it, is how having your fitness in line could help in like a lot of areas of your life. And I think like the saying goes, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I know you guys have a 12-week challenge coming up, or has it started already?
It hasn't started. We're going to start it in January because like it's the first of the year,
new me,
new year, the fitness, finance, all of that stuff.
So actually because I do want to cover that, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit of like, so we're recording this, it's like the 20th of November. So I'm going to try to get this out like in a couple days.
Okay, cool.
Maybe even before Thanksgiving. What would you say? Cause I know like the cliche is like, you have the holidays, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have family, and like people a lot of times they'll not let themselves go, but like, they'll put on some pounds. Like what would you say to someone to maybe like help mitigate that a little bit while also like, I like having a good time, right? I'm gonna enjoy Thanksgiving, that type of thing. Maybe I shouldn't say that to my personal trainer, but so what would you say to someone that's kind of just nervous,
It's about setting expectations. I think that is the thing that I've helped me so much too. Cause one, we can't be 100% all the time. And so we have to set these expectations knowing if Thanksgiving's coming up, okay, we're not going to make it a full week of Thanksgiving, right? We can make it maybe a meal of Thanksgiving, right? So instead of sweets, multiple plates, snacking, all of that. Maybe set the expectation of like, okay, I don't need a snack beforehand, maybe, or bring my own snacks, like who knows what it could be, but rice cakes or whatever you want to like kind of prepare for. So maybe eat a little bit beforehand where the snacks aren't as enticing, and then just let the meal be one meal. So we don't need multiple plates. We don't need these portions that overflow. We like Thanksgiving food's not terrible. I mean, it's protein, carbs, and
turkey.
So like it's not the worst kind of food, and also having the stigma that it's bad for you to enjoy it. I would get away from that mindset as well. Set the expectation that it's a holiday, but also set the expectation that I don't need to gorge myself. You're going to eat again, you know? So just have one plate, control your portions, enjoy it in what's the word? In not
an excess.
Yeah, not an excess.
I don't know what the opposite of that word is.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. And then, I mean, same with Christmas. Like we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, but you don't have to have the holidays be the 3-month long event that it is. Just know that those days are coming up, but everything else in between, it's normal, you know? And maybe that it's harder to get to the gym too, but set the expectation of like, well, I'm at least going to go for a walk, or I'm going to at least go to the gym for 20 minutes. Everyone has 20 minutes in their day, 30 minutes in their day. So it's kind of thinking of it as a routine. I know Jacob likes the expression of like, it's brushing your teeth. So like it's not that I want to do it, but I mean, I've got to brush my teeth, you know? And so if you set that expectation of knowing what's coming up, then I can go for a walk. I can go to the gym for at least 20 minutes, get a workout in, burn some calories. And that way the holidays don't seem so scary and so defeating, because that's what happens is people either gorge themselves or feel bad for enjoying the holidays, and they get so defeated that then the New Year's comes up. And then you're just like, well, I might as well just wait for the new year. And it's like with anything, if you wait, then you're never going to start. So just start now, but also know that expectations need to be met. So,
like you said, it's less about the actual holidays. It's more about, okay, let's not, like you said, eat the day before, have 3 meals the day of, have, leftovers for the next 4 days. Like it's just kind of setting that limit for yourself of like, again, enjoy yourself, but don't go off the off the deep end type thing.
And if you are going to get leftovers, just get the turkey.
There you go. And don't drench it with gravy and all that stuff, and skip the pumpkin pie. So back to the 12-week challenge thing. So you guys are going to do a 12-week challenge starting in January. So what's like kind of like the specifics of that? How can people sign up? Like what's entailed?
They can always message Empire and ask more about it, or like want to sign up through that. But essentially it's going to be combining fitness and finance. So we like to, like, a lot of analogies that we use in fitness also very much apply to finance. It's just funny how that works, but it does. Like I always think about the stock market whenever I'm in like thinking about progress, because like a lot of people think progress is very linear and it's always trajectorying up. But I mean, really it's very up and down. But as soon as you zoom out, like the stock market, you would hope that it's going up. And that's how progress is. You're going to have a little bit of highs, a little bit of lows. And it's just funny that kind of money is the same way. It's like life likes to throw things at you. But if you're saving well, and if you're applying good savings, good retirement, good things like that, then you're always going to have a way to go up. But we're partnering with one of our financial advisors at Northwest Mutual. And so it's going to be one day of workouts. And then in that same day, so it'll be like a 45-minute workout programmed out for the 12 weeks. And then on that same day, we're going to have like a financial class as well. So Tim's going to come in and set goals for people as well. and be able to monitor that through the 12 weeks and show people how to, one, we get to invest back into ourselves, and we get to invest back into our bank account, and also learn how to do that properly and smart, and really build that confidence. Because like money and finances are just a scary thing, and some people just don't know how to kind of go about it. Even with fitness, it's like it seems simple, but there's a lot of stuff to it. So we'll have workouts and classes for 12 weeks to like help people out and get healthy, get financially healthy, and then have like a big event at the end of it and everything like that. So you can always like message me directly, or Empire and stuff like that.
Sweet. And yeah, I think that's huge, because even I've seen like a lot of people talk about it recently, of in high school and college, like a lot of the financial stuff isn't taught. Like even some of the basic stuff of just like, oh, you should like save this amount, or you should like, here's how to invest, or like, here's how to balance a checkbook, or like, just like, here's how to do taxes. Like no one really talks about it. So do you know like any specific topics that you go over? Or?
So far, no. Cause like even in our programming, we still haven't even gotten that part done yet. And so it's going to be, but it will be like a way to learn how to financially be healthy. So
So going back a little bit to, you know, if let's say like a business owner or a personal trainer, or someone's watching this, like any other like tips or recommendations that you would give them to like help along their journey?
Yeah. Learn from books or people. I always like to have the saying of like, coaches need coaches. 'Cause you can learn a lot through that. And then, learn. And whenever you feel like something is there, of like, if you have this dream, go for it. Like, I think it's tough for people to understand that like, not everything is super black and white. Like, you don't have to go the corporate route, or you don't have to go the collegiate route, or anything like that. It's like, there's a spot for you to get your goal set and made. So like, if you are trying to be a trainer on your own, start out in a commercial gym, learn a lot from that. But also like, you like, find people in your local community that are already in the spot that you're at. Go talk to them, go learn from them. I've had plenty of people that have like shadowed me, and because they want to go that route. But I think people put these dreams on like such a high pedestal and get so scared that they're not going to reach it. And like, it's not that you can't reach it. It just might not be at that time, or it just might not be the way that you envisioned it, you know? And so I like doing podcasts or something. It's like, you see that online and you're like, wow, I want to be like that. And then you're like, well, I gotta take a step back. Like there's such a process to that. And then you just keep to the grindstone, keep humble about it, and eventually you'll make it. Like, the goal isn't the end, it's the journey to it. Like, if you don't fall in love with the process and only focus on the end, I mean, you're not gonna have fun with it. But that process is where you learn, it's where you grow. And then you think about yourself 6 months from then, you're like, oh, I've actually made it. Like, so it's mostly just learning, figuring out how you can actually achieve it, and find a team behind you. Like, if I was trying to do this solo, I would have no idea. But luckily I had people in my life that shared the same goal. Find those people that share the same goal and figure out how you can get to it. Owning a business is scary, which I'm not really the owner or anything, but I mean, just taking off on your own. I mean,
you're your own like boss in a sense, right? Being a trainer.
Yeah. So like, taking off on your own is scary, but the reward is, I mean, so awesome that I almost am like, people just go off on your own. Like, you don't need it, you know? But it's not for everyone. But always shoot for it. Like, that's the biggest advice that I would have for someone.
Yeah. Two things that you said that I think are really huge that a lot of people, or even three, is number one is just finding the value in working at like a corporate place, right? Whatever field it is. Like for me, I worked for a long time with like a marketing firm and with a real estate company. And like it, you can look at it one of two ways. Number one, you can say, oh, like, I don't want to be in this corporate thing, blah, blah, blah. Or you can look at it, like you said, is like, look at it as you're getting paid to learn. Because you get to paid and see like how it's done at a really high level. And you can pull different things of like things that they're working well, and then also see things that you don't really like about it, and then change those for your own model. That's the first thing. And then there was a third that slipped my mind. But the second thing that you said is like finding other people that are like where you want to be, and just like reaching out to those people. But I think the caveat there is doing it in a way where you're not trying to like take advantage of their time, but more of just kind of like, hey, like, how can we do this like mutual beneficial thing? Because a lot of times, like, even for me, like if people ask me about social media, like I'm a nerd about this stuff. I love talking about it. I have no problem like doing that. But I think as long as, just having the expectation that like, hey, I'm not going to try to like, ask this person out to coffee every week, but still, understanding like, okay, they probably like they're in a position where they are for a reason. Maybe we can like, trade of some sort.
And like, even if it's just not like you're trying to take advantage of them, they might just have the same vision as you and can help you develop where you want to be at too. I think community is huge, and that's the biggest thing that has helped me like turn into like the person that I am, because you have these like-minded people coming together and sharing this dream, and that just in itself helps, because it makes it feel less scary, because you're also not just in it on your own. You're seeing what someone else has kind of developed, or like how someone else got to the point that they're at, and so you're like, oh, I can do it too. It's like, so it's really cool.
Yeah. Coaches, you said coaching, or coaches always have coaches. I think that's like the biggest cheat code. It's like, you don't have to, like, there's, I mean, even with just the internet and YouTube and like AI now, it's like you can literally, like, there's no reason that you shouldn't have like at least some sort of like coaching, whether it's another person or, someone that, another person or just, YouTube University as people call it.
Right. And I think with coaching, and I apply this kind of to fitness too, is like, coaches have made all the same mistakes you have, so they just literally fast forward your progress without making those mistakes. And so it's like you're almost developing the people into the person that you wish you had at that time to not make those mistakes. And it's very important, and helps you see like, oh, it's not that bad. I can do this. And you're like, oh, I'm making way more progress than I thought I would. So
yeah, exactly. Last question: where can people find you if they're if they want to either, I know we kind of talked about it, but if they want to reach out to you, ask questions about like how they get in contact.
Instagram handle is Luke.Maness, MANESS .37, and then we're just Empire Personal Training on Instagram.
Sweet. So. Sounds good. Yeah, I originally found you guys. I think I just searched up like Conway Personal Training, and it ended up popping up. It was like one of the only ones that popped up. So
that's awesome.
It worked out. So for those of you that are listening, watching, both on YouTube and on the podcast apps, you can click the links down in the description. Obviously, you explained it, but we'll drop those all down in the description below. And dude, thanks for being episode number 1. It's been a lot of fun.
Number 1. This is awesome.
Awesome, man. So for those of you that are hanging out, make sure to subscribe. Any questions you have, leave down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new and you want to get updated with all the new content. We'll see you guys in the next one. Talk soon.
Boom.
Peace.